think we're good. Dan can just let us know if that's the case. He'll send me something. Okay, so it's my pleasure to introduce our new Economic Development Officer, Parker Horton. So Parker, yeah, if you'll come forward, make sure your mic is turned on and just give us a little bit of an introduction.
Perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon, Warden, councillors, and the community members here. It's my pleasure to introduce myself. I'm Parker Horton, the new EDO for this beautiful county. A little bit about my background. I moved here in 2019 after a 15-year career in the Air Force, where I was an officer in logistics. I founded and exited 2 companies in Cape Breton. It was Breton Air and Gateway Sydney. This opportunity presented itself. And for me, I take the greatest satisfaction in enabling and creating opportunities and working with like-minded, motivated people here in the region. So it's a perfect fit. I've been welcomed with open arms. I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of friendly faces. So I'm pleased to say I'm here. I'm looking forward to working with you all. And that's it for my introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Parker. And we're going to take this opportunity to allow the councillors to introduce themselves and just give a brief description of their district. So we'll start with Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Warden. Welcome, Parker. My name is Fraser Patterson. I'm the councillor for District 5, which is Bullitvie, part of Bullitvie that's in Victoria County. And you mentioned Breton Air. I think I know your partner in crime with that venture. And, you know, I think that's a typical example of 2 younger people like yourselves, you and Matt, coming back home and starting a fairly successful business. So hats off for that. And hopefully you can do that for the rest of the county. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor. Make sure your mic is on, please.
Hi, I'm Barbara Longva, and I'm District 4, which goes from the foot of Smoky all the way to the Bell Museum, New Hamilton, New Harris, Englishtown, St. Anne's, that whole area for the time being. And as well as being councillor, I also own So Inclined, the Funky Hat Shop.
Awesome.
Yep. Nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to working with you.
Yes, hi, Parker. Welcome aboard. You're not a stranger to a lot of us, and I know you've spent a lot of time in Ingonish, which is my territory, which is from taking off from Barb from Pathway Bridge at the bottom of Smoky, 3/4 way through Ingonish, and we look forward to working with you and looking forward to having you in Ingonish. Thank you.
Hello, welcome, Parker. My name is Perla McLeod, Councillor District 2, Big Pedek, Middle River, Pedek Inlet, Nayanson. Welcome.
Parker, we just met. I'm from the stop of Larry's district all the way to Niels Harbor, White Point, Sugarloaf. I'm not Sugarloaf, South Harbor. And then Mr. McDonald, who's not here, he takes the rest of the area. Welcome aboard.
Welcome, Parker. Paul McNeil, District 1, the Washington Peninsula and Bucklaw area right to the Red Burn.
Thank you. And I'm Bruce Morrison. Bedek, for the most part, is my district. And I would welcome you and also encourage you to contact any of our councillors anytime. They know their communities best and they can provide you with lots of information and probably create some shortcuts for you. So welcome aboard, and we look forward to working with you and providing timely reports over the year. Anything else?
No, I think it's interesting. You all should probably know. I believe Parker just finished a tour over in the Ukraine,
Latvia.
Latvia.
Yeah.
So thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
And so everybody's tracking my first month. My intention is to drive the county as much as I can. I'd like to see, especially as many of our businesses that are currently open. If there's any of your businesses that are currently having any issues or concerns, I'd like to be aware of those. And I can prioritize those in my visits.
We'll do. We'll make a commitment to work with you. So we look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next item on the agenda this afternoon, council had requested an update from the Victoria Highlands Civic Center and where they're at with their project towards a new community center. So this afternoon, we have John Trickett and Dave Parkinson, and I'll allow those 2 gentlemen to introduce the remainder of their committee as well. So John, if you would do that, and then we'll turn it over to you. And Our usual presentations are around 20 minutes plus minus, so sorry, no, I probably didn't, so. I did well to remember to. So we won't hold you to 20 minutes to the second, but we will hold you to 40 minutes in a second, if you know what I'm saying. So having said that, John, if you'd introduce your committee and we'll turn it over to you for your presentation, please.
Thank you, Warden, for the opportunity to come and give you and council an update. And with me today, to my left here, is Dave Parkinson. He's one of our steering committee members and more involved in the technical side of things. A lot of people know Dave from his engineering profession, and he brings a wealth of real-time knowledge to this project, and we're just grateful to have him on board and keep us on track. We have over here to my left at the door, ready to head out the door, is Terry Kelly from the area, Janie Campbell, Sandy Campbell, and that's it from our group. Eileen Woodford sends her regrets. She was hoping to be back for this meeting today. She's somewhere west of the Badek on the highway, and last minute she passed on. She's not going to make it. She sends her regrets, as does Stuart Whitty from Ingonish. If Stuart is not on a boat, he's on the road between hockey and fishing. He's, since our last meeting, and the councillors to my left here recommended Stuart as a good person to be on our committee. He's brought a wealth of knowledge and reason to the committee, to the project. He just a great choice, a great recommendation. Thank you for that, Deputy Warden, for that nomination. He sends his regrets as well. So with that, as you mentioned, Warden, Council requested us to provide an update since our last meeting. We have a few slides. So what I'll briefly do is go over where we've been in the last number of months, since I believe it was March we were last here. Some of the consultations that we've done. Then we'll go to where we are now, and then I'll pass that over to Dave, who has some drawings that he will be able to go over with you, and more of the technical stuff. From there, we'll go to where we plan on heading after we accomplish some of these goals that you'll see set out. So as I said, since our last this is an update since our last council meeting. So where we've been, we've had numerous meetings and visits to Victoria Highlands Civic Center, in particular, provincial cabinet ministers, Dunn and Maslin, Public Works, and Minister of Culture and Sport. They actually toured the facility and provided great insight into ways forward. They have a keen understanding and appreciation for the requirements and the need to have community centers in these areas. So as I said, they provided valuable insight. We've met with provincial officials on funding streams, and funding streams, as anybody knows, they're an evolving process. What stream we may have targeted a year ago has dried up, and we were provided another funding stream. So we continue to work on that. We've got consultations with construction companies having recent experience in this type of project, the actual building of these facilities, not only in Cape Breton, but recent new builds in other parts of the province. We've actually went to a couple of those, one in particular, new builds in community center. The latest one been West Hants. Before that, we were at the Berwick Appledome Center down in Berwick. And as I said, West Hants. One of the big lessons we've learned from those visits, besides what's good to have in it and right sizing it for the community, is rinks cannot sustain themselves alone. And that was one of the greatest take homes that we've that we took away from that, albeit we can argue and say that for 49 years, Victoria Highland Civic Center has operated and continues to operate in the black. But as we've learned with the demands, different construction requirements, the inclusive accessibility requirements that we all need to have in all of our buildings. All those things is just part of the lessons learned. Then we have meetings and consultations with local county groups. Some of them are in the room today, the municipal administration folks, the archery club. I see Steve Kerr back in the back corner behind me here. We had Theatre Bedeck, the local gym, regional library board, and the Regional Library Society. I see some gentlemen back in the other corner there. We've met with those folks over the last number of months to determine what their needs are, what their requirements are, and how we could actually align that in a new facility that was reasonable, affordable, and sustainable. We were actually continued with the dialogue with the officials at Wagmatcook and Wakaba, and very happy to say that both the chief and council of Wakaba and Wagmatcook have provided letters of support for our funding application that we're working on now, which brings me to that. So that's where we've been. Where we're going. So we're in the process of, as I mentioned in a few minutes ago, that the funding stream that we were targeting has since expired. The funds were committed, but we've learned of a new funding stream. We have a formal funding application, 98.5% complete. I've since learned that's closer to 100% complete and ready for quality review. That funding application will soon be required to be submitted to government. We have 75% completion of potential tenants for the new facility. As I mentioned, the groups that we've met, one of the groups is the municipality, and I know the municipality are considering all their options. At some point, before we get our application completely pressed the print and sign and send it out for processing, we'll need to know what a direction of council in Victoria County is from an administrative perspective. We don't expect that today. We're not looking for that today, but I just want to pass that on to everybody. Where are we? So we have, as I said, we've talked to potential tenants of the new facility. We have 98% completion of an operating budget, and there's a few factors that are still up in the air with regard to who will actually get into the building. And from that, we have the concept drawings of a new facility. And at this point, I'll mention to everybody, all of this project in our governance model, we are the steering committee. We go out, we research, we do the best practices, engage different stakeholders and potential tenants. And we'll put our package together, then we'll go back to our board who will review it and hopefully recommend that. And then we'll come back and make the formal request to council for funding that's been earmarked from previous council meetings and whatnot. So that's where we are. And with that, as I mentioned, Dave Parkinson is going to go over our block drawings. Dave has real-time knowledge of this aspect of the project, and we're honored to have him here. So Dave.
So these are just copies of it, a little easier to look at what's on the screen. Thank you. So one of the first things that we identified when we started this process was that a new Victoria Highlands Civic Center that was going to replace the existing facility was going to be bigger, and it was going to cost more money to operate. And that's because it's going to be bigger because it has to be barrier-free. That takes up more space. You have to have wider doors, wider corridors. You obviously have to make it accessible to the community at large. It's also going to be more expensive because there are systems in new buildings that did not exist back when the building was originally built. Those systems cost money to operate, and therefore they create a revenue challenge. And so it is through that sort of understanding at the beginning of the process that we realized that we had to expand upon what we could make the facility in order to help those other activities support the operation of the building. We also recognized through some early consultation with the public that there was a desire to have more than just a sheet of ice. And that's why the Victoria Highlands Civic Center plan is to have something that's more than just a sheet of ice. We've got on the plan, you can see on the main floor plan, we have a space that's sort of between grid lines 10 and 13. That is the opening area of the building. There's a large space there that we're referring to as a primary commercial tenant space. It could be slightly bigger, it could be slightly smaller. It could be divided into chunks with a commercial tenant over a couple of floors. There's all sorts of unassigned space that has yet to be sort of satisfied. You'll see that there's a line between grid line 11 and 12. That's an arbitrary line. That line could be halfway between grid line 10 and 11. It could be all the way over at 12. There's all sorts of flexibility about this space. Although this plan may look somewhat more final than you might anticipate for a concept, it is actually just a concept because there's a lot left to be done to get to the finish line. It, however, is a concept that's detailed enough for us to make sure that our capital ask from the funding agencies is backed by something that makes sense. Okay, if you flip over to the second floor, you'll see that there's a walking track proposed around the outside of the facility. We have on the top right-hand corner, we have a fitness center. Through one of the conversations we had with the operators of the current gym, they're anxious to have the fitness center that they operate move into a different location, and they're anxious to help us support having that location in this facility. We also have on the bottom right another area of unassigned space because it is unassigned. We don't know what's going to go in there. It has not been figured out yet. We have further public consultation planned where we're going to try to understand, well, what does the community need? What does the community want? Again, though, we're trying to do this in a way that ensures that not only can we get funding from government to construct the building, but more importantly, that you can then afford to operate the building for the 50 years that it's going to exist. That, in my experience, as been in the design of buildings for the last 30 years, it is very easy to generally get capital funding to build projects. It is after the capital funding is gone, the operators have their brand new buildings. It is very difficult to always find the revenue it takes to make a building supportable financially. And it's for this reason that we've worked hard to try to include other possible revenue sources in here, other partners in the facility, in order to be able to make sure that this is long-term sustainable. Like I said at the beginning, these lines that are up on the second floor, they could be different They could be shaped differently. There's all sorts of arrangements that have to be done. If you flip back to the bottom floor, over on the top left-hand corner, we have a storage area. We're anticipating that that storage area could be for any community group that has stuff that they think they can use in this facility. When I first moved here, short track speed skating was happening, figure skating was happening. I know in talking to Steve in the past, there's been archery that's taken place, and storage is a main concern for him. There's space in this building to allow for varied storage arrangements to support other community groups that want to take advantage of this. The intent is to make this more than just an ice arena, but make it a year-round facility that can attract people from all over to do things year-round. And we've tried to set that up as best we can. The market conditions are extremely difficult right now financially in the construction industry. We've put a lot of effort into trying to understand what these costs are going to be, not just now, because we have a funding application that's coming up, but we don't necessarily get a check the day after we make the application. It might not come for 18 months. It might come in 6 months. So there's escalations that we've had to build into this. I've been involved in the construction of 3 rink projects. I have some real experience with what it costs to build these projects. We've talked to local general contractors who have designed these facilities all around Atlantic Canada. And so we have a real good, solid sense of what the project is going to cost. Do we have it completely nailed down? Not in this market. Okay, but we have as best an idea of what we think this is going to cost at this point in time with the information available. John?
Okay, thanks, Dave. So with that, where we're headed. So as soon as Wednesday of this week, we have a meeting with the federal resources to discuss funding application. That's the funding application right here that we have that's almost, as I say, complete. And we have developed the resources to be able to talk to us about that application and help us out with it. Then followed by that, on Thursday, we have a meeting with provincial resources, provincial government resources to discuss the funding application. And from there, we plan on further engagement and information sessions, which is going to be led by Eileen Woodford. Her plan is to get those underway early this year, possibly March, April is what we're expecting. And she asked me to pass on and ask councillors if they have any suggestions within their areas to please let us know, and we'll do our visits to your local areas if you deem that that's necessary. We welcome the opportunity. Then the end of February, this document hopefully will be required to be submitted. That's the deadline, and to government for the funding application. And then we wait for word from where that is. So with that, that pretty well brings us up to where we are today. I want to thank you and council, and I wanted to thank you and Mayor or Warden and Councillor for the opportunity to give you an update today. And I noticed that Reverend Brian McLeod, the King Lion in Bedeque, is over here to my right. Want to make a special shout out and thank you to the local Lions Club for everything they do in the county. In particular, this past Yuletide dinner that the Lions Club had with their silent auction, they dedicated as their beneficiary the new Victoria Highland Civic Center building fund. And Reverend McLeod, we appreciate that. We appreciate everything the Lions Club does and the stuff that you do with the youth in the community while you're here. So thank you on behalf of our group. And now, Warden, I'll pass that on to you if you have any questions or council.
Great presentation, great update, both from you and Dave. And I'm going to open it up to council for questions. We have some folks here from the community as well. So are you willing to take some questions from the community as well, John? John? Oops, sorry. You came in right on time.
Impressive.
So we have some folks here from the community as well. So are you open to taking some questions as well? And we're just going to be aware of the time that since they took the time and interest to come here this afternoon, we open it to them for some brief questions and comments. And if we can't get to all of them today, are you available? Is your committee available to meet with any that don't have? Or
Absolutely, Warden, we are. We
Great.
welcome that. Anything that we can get either formally or informally, please reach out to us. And to that very end, we have the library board that's circling back with us this month as well to further discuss their project.
Oh, great. So we're going to turn it over to council, and I'm going to ask council just one question or comment. That way we have, we can cover both the municipal side and the community side as well. So we'll start with Councillor McNeil from District Number 1.
Thank you, Warden. And thank you, John and Dave, for the presentation. Actually, it's good to have it. I've been asked many times around the community what's going on with the ring. A lot of people, they don't have negative comments. They just want to know if it's moving forward and stuff. With that, I'm just wondering about the status of the old rink now. This obviously will take time. With the old rink in the situation the way it is, how will it be able to operate for the next couple of years?
That's an excellent question, Councillor McNeil. So just to remind everybody of where we are, we came to this point because of the condition of the rink. When we had our engineering assessments done, we had to make a decision on where to go within the year. That year has passed. We had the engineers come back in, do an assessment again before we opened up this year. I want to categorically say from their findings and our insurance company findings, the building is safe. And that's number one in our minds. It's got to be safe before we come in. Albeit, is it efficient? Is the sides and walls starting to decay? Absolutely, and they're getting worse. So the engineering firm came back with mitigations to put in place to continue monitor the snow load on the roof of the building because it's at the 1970s standards. At the west end of the building, so that's the building facing the curling club. They want that isolated so nobody walks there. You can actually see through it. And when the wind comes through hard from that southwesterly direction from Iona, kind of, it blows hard on that side, and the rust and tailings fall on the floor there. So we've isolated that. We've done that. I also want to say that in September this year, our insurance broker approached us and gave us notice that they would not insure the building for any longer. So they gave us a 40-day notice. So we went back to our agent and reminded them that we just came through the eye of Fiona without any damage. We've never had a claim for insurance on the building. And the insurance agent went back and we do have insurance on the building again, liability insurance, which is most important. So that's all part of the aging of the old building. But to your exact question, your timeline, what we're hoping, and Dave can speak to this from the construction side and timelines for supply chain. If we can get our funding in place, we hope to be ready in 2023 or spring of 24 to actually start a new build. So over that time, we'll get the funding in place, do the final design work, do the demolition, and aim for 2025 as an opening date.
We're hoping to align this effort so that we only lose one hockey season. while the demolition and reconstruction takes place.
And for clarity, it's not only hockey, it's ice for any other folks that want to use the ice
Yeah,
surface.
Cabot Trail Relay Race.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those are all things that we're trying to coordinate, and it's a juggling act in today's climate. I hope that answers your question.
Councilor Oregon.
Thanks for the presentation. It's looking interesting. And I won't ask any other questions, but I'll be looking forward to an update again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Councilor McLeod.
Thank you for the presentation, and it's nice to see the draws and see what is going on. Just have a question about, because it's a little bit bigger, with the parking lot is going to be okay?
Yeah,
The
what,
area,
when we came, this is obviously a bigger building. We spoke with John Bain at the Regional District Planning Commission. We got direction from him on parking spaces. We laid out the site to provide the parking spaces that we need to provide. The building is going to go back.
Oh.
It will come forward a little bit, but it will mainly go back, and it will go towards the curling club, but we do have enough parking for the facility based on the seating in the facility. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. Deputy Warden Daphne, please.
Yes, thanks very much, guys, for the presentation, and Perla stole my question. I was just wondering about size, but that's good. The other thing, when I first looked at it, I noticed the walking track was upstairs, and I was like, geez, for accessibility, but then I think I found the elevator. Am I correct? That is an elevator that is in the facility? Okay, no, that's great, and like Councilor Organ said, we look forward to further updates, and all the best with your endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councilor Long, any questions or comments, please?
Are we only allowed one question? Okay. Well, you mentioned a lot of groups that were like, a few of the ones I'm familiar with. There's the municipality, archery, the library, the theater, the gym, pickleball, rugby, archery. Like it's, or would, like, I don't think all of those could fit into this concept. Maybe they could, but I just wondered if you looked at any other options of places to put it, so that in the future it could be expanded to include more groups that need a location, more sports groups, or more like theater, daycare, those kinds of groups.
Great question, Councillor Longva. I'll answer the first part of this, and I'll pass the other over to Dave. He might want to add some from a technical perspective, footprint, all those kinds of things. So in our earlier slide, I mentioned the consultation. We did meet with Theatre Bedek as one of the groups looking to explore options in there. And want to first off shout out to the Theatre Bedek for the product they offer, what they require, what our business model dictates. It's just not the right fit for us and for Theatre Bedek in that complex there. So that's one of the definite things. The archery club is a seasonal user, and they may or may not come into an existing facility, but purpose built. That's not in the cards there either. The Regional Library Board, they've circled back with us. They provide us a footprint on square footage and what they expected. That does not fit with our footprint, nor does it fit with what they expect to have to contribute to the being in that building at this time. That was early on. They've since reached out to us, and they want to have a meeting this month again. So there are some moving parts, as Dave alluded to, in this piece, and I'll pass it on to Dave if he wants to add anything there, Councillor.
I think one of the challenges with this, as I identified at the beginning, has been the cost. We know that there's only so much money available that we're going to have access to. We have been directed by federal and provincial ministers the path that we have to go down, and that path does not provide an unlimited resource space for capital expenditure. And so in addition to that, we're trying to design a building that we can afford to get as much into it as possible. And one of the ways to do that is to use a simple building structure. When we had a sit down with Theater Bedek, they had a consultant that they brought in. We had multiple conversations with that consultant. They wanted a physical shape to accommodate their specific needs that actually didn't physically fit in this building because it was a different shape when you think about the acoustics required in a performance theater. And so the same thing, the same sort of, if we wanted to add to this facility, it could be a separate building. It could be, let's say, a community development within the village that has multiple buildings in multiple locations, as is similar in multiple municipal units. Everything isn't always in one place. There's not the land available to do that. Specifically, again, with respect to costs, this land is available, so it doesn't cost the Victoria Island Civic Center any extra money. There's servicing to this land that's already available because it's already in place. So again, that saves money on the project. So again, trying to identify economies here that work from a construction standpoint, that was always what we were trying to drive around. Yes, we're trying to fit as much in here as we can, but we obviously can't fit everything in.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the reason why we kind of kept questions just in the respect of time, and we have other folks from the community as well. I will just reiterate, if you have more questions, and I'm sure you have more, I didn't mean to limit you to one, but the committee has said that they are very open to, if you have any questions, you can direct either email them or meet
No,
with
I'm
them.
happy to forego my questions so that the audience can ask theirs.
Exactly. And if you want to follow up with John or Dave, I know they're open to the same as well. So thank you for that.
Just further to that last question, the answer. A lot of the basis for what we have in the building, the walking track, for example, the gym and those types of things, all come from our initial engagement sessions early on in the process.
Give Councillor Patterson any questions or comments?
Short comment and a short question, Warden. Thank you. Excuse me. I believe I mentioned at the last council meeting the possibility of some funding source being the Green Municipal Fund. I left the meeting and Mr. Campbell and I met in the street, so I handed him the brochure of it, and I gave John contact information. And I guess, Alex, what it may, I don't know if the municipality would have to apply or what the details are, but there can be a partnership between municipalities and organizations. So maybe you could have a conversation to see if that's a possibility. Very, very basic question, David. Thank you for the drawings. First of all, thank you for all your work too, all of you that have been working on this. I'm assuming there's spectators in 2 levels?
No, it's one level because it's right.
Oh, okay. It looks
So
like, one is up higher.
The seats at the
Yeah.
Gridline GP are the lowest seats, and then
Okay.
everything else on the main floor actually goes
Yeah.
underneath.
And
those
what's your
seats.
total spectator capacity?
I think it was just under 400 people.
That's seated.
Seating. And then
Seating,
there's
yeah.
other areas around the perimeter.
I was somewhere and I saw a rink with no seating.
Yeah.
Just benches. And I guess that has a purpose, but I mean, if you have minor hockey,
Yeah.
anyway, thank you.
Those are typically rinks that are used for practices
Practice,
only,
yeah.
not the spectator games.
So thank you for that. These plans that you gave us, do you want them back, Dave?
No, we don't need the back, no.
Okay, just, I didn't know if they were confidential or
We'll
not.
just stress that they are still a work in progress, but that's the concept we're.
Graphic
dealing with.
representation only, so to speak. So I know there are a number of people here from the community, and we're going to open it up, and I would limit to 2 questions I would ask just so we can keep track. One is, I'm going to limit you to 1 question, and I would like you to be as brief as possible with your question. Your question should be directed through the chair so that we can just maintain order, and if you get a question, we go on to the next person, on to the next person, on the next person. We have 10, 15 minutes to do that. So are you guys okay staying for an extra 10 minutes?
Sure.
Yep. And if you would like you to use the mic, and I would also perhaps if you would, when you're asking your question, tell us who you are, although we know most of you, but if you're representing either yourself or an organization, it's important for us to know. So I'm going to ask who wants to be the first to ask a question, make comment to the committee. I'll ask again. Do we have a question or comment? I think I see a gentleman behind the screen. So state your name, please, sir, and ask your question. And again, brevity is the order of the day.
Sure. Great. Thank you, Stephen Kerr. Thank you. I attended a couple of meetings with these folks, and they have done a lot of work. My concern is perhaps what Barb was trying to get at is here. We've taken a box and said, here, if you fit in this box, great. If you don't fit in this box, too damn bad. And unfortunately, there's a number of organizations within this community are looking for a space and a venue to conduct their activities and to meet and things like that. And I think we're missing the boat here. My understanding, and you'll have to correct me, that the last meeting I attended, the cost estimate for this project is going from 14 million to somewhere between 20 and 25 million. So we're going to spend that much money. I would like to see us do something that includes more of the demographic of our county. And I appreciate that building on the existing site has some synergies to it. But the only thing is, you're missing out on all the other organizations in this community that are looking for a place to conduct their business and do their things. And I'd appreciate that Theater Bedeck, I'm not speaking on behalf of them, they're looking for a place or will be looking for a place. The library is looking for a place. There's no community center here now. There's a bunch of people that are looking for a space. Now, we're one group that came and talked with these folks, appreciated it, but again, went to the meeting with a box already there. And if you fit in the box, fine. If you don't, sorry,
Okay.
I can't help.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. And
So yeah, I mean, the other one was, there's nobody here asked an update on the budget or the cost estimate for this project. And that was a concern during the committee of the whole in March. People were concerned that this was $14 million. And now it's gone something between 20 and $25 million.
yeah, that would have come up at some point, I can assure you, either through counselor.
You're talking for 20
Yep.
minutes. It's
Uh-huh.
never even
Yeah,
mentioned.
well,
One person
yeah, I hear you.
has
Yep.
asked,
Yep.
How much is this project? for?
And trust me, it'll come up. Thank you for your comments. Anything you want to say to that, John,
So I
please?
can say categorically that this project now, based on the current economic times, is at between 24 and 25 million.
Thank you.
That's not, that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that's following the global economic situation.
Yeah, and we would have asked that question before you left today, I assure you.
I'm assuming that you talked about your funding applications that you're doing. So I would expect that your funding is going to cover this, probably the same portion that you were going to cover before.
Jeannie can speak to that. That funding application is in detail, has to be in detail for government agencies. So yes, we have that. It's not the right time to share that right
Yep.
now until we get that.
Yep.
Quality controlled.
The ask is not different from municipality though, so.
Right.
revenue streams.
Right, and council is already committed to a certain amount, so cost overruns shouldn't be a council concern at this point.
And I will tell you that our funding model continues to be the same ask that we already came to, no more.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments for, yes, identify yourself, sir. Your question or comment, please.
My concern is this, that everything you've addressed to us is indoors. Is there any question, is there any consideration of what might happen outdoors? You know, if you have a multi-use community center, you might presume to have some outdoor space that would be valuable to the fitness of the community rather than a walking track upstairs indoors.
Thank you for the question, sir. I didn't catch your name. Chris, sorry. Thank you for the question. We're limited by the footprint and to keep our costs down because of the lot that we're on. It has the services, it has all that infrastructure at curbside now, so we'll continue to build on that. I will say that we have discussed, and the trail system, the trailhead actually is in the parking lot of the rink. So that's the best we can do with the space that we have. Yes, it connects out to the walking trail that goes over the overpass and out into the countryside.
Can I also make a comment on that?
Yep.
So our tourism and recreation department are in the process of putting together a Beacon Bedeck visioning session to bring together different community groups, and we're going to give it another try. And at those events, we're hoping that community members come forward and talk about things that they'd like to see. And if there are outdoor activities or outdoor fields of certain types, they're much cheaper to build than an inside building. So we'd possibly be open to looking at those types of things within our recreation and tourism departments and community economic development departments. So we'll be posting when we're having these meetings. I'm expecting them in the spring. So we'll invite you to be there with your ideas. Yeah.
Thank you for your question. Any other questions or comments, please? Yes, sir.
Joe Harvey, just a resident. Yeah, so to me, it looks like we're trying to do something for the public here. My concern is that there's been very little to no public engagement. I know we've had a couple of community sessions, and there was a community board where we could make comments, but many of the concerns and the things that the community wanted that were put on the community board and brought up in the public meetings have been neglected with no feedback to the community. Any meetings that the committee is having should be made public to all of the public. It's a building for us. We should be able to contribute to this constantly. It should be open. And when there's an advertisement for a meeting or something, it should be made where everybody can see it. The reason a lot of people are here today is because nobody knows what's going on. And that's a real shame. It's too bad that things weren't a little bit more open. The committee would look more open and transparent, and that going forward, I think we need to really open this up to the public to benefit all of us.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your comments, and I'm just going to allow John or any member of this committee to respond, please.
Point is well taken. There are times in this project that we've had to stay within the confines of our own group because of funding applications, because of respect for different entities that are making presentations to us on moving their project forward and going back to their own agencies and talking to them. We do have our engagement sessions planned. This time right now is to get the funding in place. That's naturally a quiet time anyway, because we're focused on the paperwork. We have committed to, and Eileen Woodford is heading that up, to further engagement and information sessions.
Good. So there'll be opportunities upcoming. So
Yes.
thank you. Any other last questions before we move on? Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, it's Christy McCrazis from Theatre Bedeck, co-artistic producer. Hi, John.
Hi.
So yeah, I just thought in light of Theatre Bedeck having its name mentioned that I would speak actually today. And we did as an organization really appreciate the opportunity to be part of the conversation with your committee. And it was kind of quite exciting there for a little while. And then less exciting as we discovered that we really weren't a really good fit. And there were a couple of reasons for that, one of which has been mentioned a couple of times, that we did come into the project seeing that there was in fact a fairly limited box that they were looking to fill. And I think there might have been a way for Theatre Bedeck to fit into that box, but that wasn't the only factor. And another major factor was just when it comes to the building or the creating of a performing arts center, just by definition, there are risks being taken as a business model. That's just the nature of the beast. And I think that this was a committee with a particular mandate that was just not able to see beyond the desire to come up with something that was going to be as risk-free a venture as possible. And I think that it would be fair to say that that was a significant factor in the decision for us not to go forward. And I would say too that as an organization in this town and, you know, a success in this town, that it was hard not to feel fearful that this was an opportunity for Theatre Bedeque that we might never see again, or that we might not see for another 25 years, at which time my tenure likely with Theatre Bedeque will be over. As an organization, of course, I would trust that it'll continue. Anyway, the point is, nobody wants to be motivated by fear or this fearful nature, but it does beg the larger question that Councillor Longva has mentioned and other folks are mentioning, which is, it's hard not to feel concerned that so many resources, limited resources, are going into this incredibly expensive venture without significant community input, without significant enough big dreaming about what this municipality needs and what its future should be. And so that's my encouragement to this council, really, is this committee is doing great work and hard work, and everyone loves the idea of a rink. But what I would encourage council to think about is, what is the bigger picture for this community and this municipality, and what are the other organizations? What's the future here? And so what's confusing me today is that I'm hearing about Eileen Woodford, committee member, wanting to run sessions with for feedback and community engagement. But what's the nature of the feedback or that you're getting from the community if the box has been set?
Okay,
So
great.
that's it.
No, and again, I'm going to allow John to thank you for your comment and questions. So John, if you want to respond to that, or Dave?
Okay.
So it's important for everyone to realize that, yes, we have a rectangle. We have talked about the fact that if an opportunity makes itself available to expand that rectangle, we don't have a lot of room this way, but we do have room out towards the Shaw Road. We've talked about the fact that there could be a bump. I've used that exact description. Could be a bump on the side of the building to make more room for a community. The challenge comes in, that bump costs money. It's not going to be a free bump. It's not going to be a bump that is only collecting $25 a day in revenue, because it's not sustainable. And so that then becomes the challenge. So the community consultation that we're going to be going down now is saying, look, we have this model that actually works financially. It will not create a burden on the County of Victoria because it works. Now, what can we do to it? What community groups are interested in becoming partners and adding to what that possibility could be? And it could be anyone. We're waiting to see what those groups are. But make no mistake about it, this has to be something that is sustainable financially. I was involved with the Amera Center. They got the money, they built it, they lost it. It's now the CBRM. I was involved with the Glace Bay Miners Forum. They got the money, they built it, they lost it. They had to rebuild the thing for $10 million just to rebuild the inside of it, because they let it go because they did not have the money to run it. These are real problems that cannot be ignored, or they become a burden on the municipal unit within which they sit. So there are all sorts of opportunities. It's the imagination of everyone in this room that's going to lead to what those could be. But that imagination is going to have a revenue stream attached to it that makes it work.
Thank you. Well said, sir. Any other final questions or comments before we call it? Okay, and as far as us and a potential tenant, to leave that with us, we'll get back to you. We have to have a conversation around that. So if you leave that with us, then we'll be in touch. That'll be a conversation at council. We have a priority session 1st and 2nd of February. It'll be part of that conversation.
Thank you, Warden, and that fits with our deadline for our submission as well at the end of February.
Very good. I want to thank you for the work you're doing within the community. I want to thank you for responding to the community's questions and concerns today. I hope that those that still have some remaining questions and concerns will contact you directly. And Thanks again, and we're going to take a 10-minute recess. Thank you.
Nothing. The video is just.
Okay, we're going to reconvene council, and the next item up on our agenda is the minutes of council for December 12th, 2022. Those minutes were circulated to you. Were there any errors or omissions in the minutes of December 12th, 2022? Hearing that there are no errors or omissions, can we have a motion to approve the minutes of December 12th?
I make a motion that we approve those minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Longa has approved those, made the motion. Do we have a seconder, please? Deputy, sorry, Councillor McLeod, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Going to move on to the CAO's report. So Leanne, if you would, please.
Great. So just a couple of things to update council on from prior sessions. There was a request to have Lyle come to council to talk about Hurricane Fiona. We thought possibly if he did up a report, it might be a good idea. So he sent his report and I forwarded it along to everyone. What Lyle, this will be available online, his report. He has some things that were lessons learned from the storm. He says the fuel supply became an issue and the province is going to look at mobile fuel options for emergency vehicles as well as emergency fuel supply for places like comfort centers, and a priority list be established. He also said we need direct communication with Bell Alliant locally in Nova Scotia for emergency agencies that require telephone access. It was brought to the attention of the province that the municipality is not responsible for provincial assets, i.e. roads. Municipalities will monitor them during storms. However, notification has to go to the province when a problem arises, and when it is being addressed by the province, then notification back to the municipality must be made to close the loop that the problem has been or is going to be taken care of. He says, how can we force fuel stations to have backup power to avoid long lines for hours to the select few fuel stations that do have backup power? Being private businesses, not sure if we can actually require that or mandate that. If we are going to be having reception centers, we should be notifying the Red Cross prior to an event happening. This is for Victoria County Comfort Centers, which we only have 2 that can be used as a reception center currently. It was brought up that EMO needs to have regional representatives for somebody on the ground here in this area. This is EMO Nova Scotia. Municipalities should make people aware that we recommend that they be prepared for 72 hours. It was discovered during Hurricane Fiona that it took over a week in certain cases before help could get to them, including emergency services like fire, police, and ambulances. We need to come up with a plan for people so that they know what to do in these situations. A note on federal request, how we make that happen. Talking about comfort centers. Now, once comfort centers became open, there is a significant distance between comfort centers within Victoria County. We have to make sure that any places that are comfort centers actually have a backup generator. So there was a provincial program that came about that Lyle has made the arrangements, gone around to the different fire departments and or community centers and asked them if they would be interested in applying for the generator and to be a comfort center. He came up with, I believe it's 9, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different community halls, parish centers, and fire departments that put in an application for generators. since comfort centers are the responsibility of the municipality, the 20% that is not covered by the grants more than likely is going to be a cost to the municipality. So I might make a suggestion that if any of these organizations that did get the funding, the 80% funding, that the municipality agree to cover the rest of those related to funding for backup generators. But maybe we only do it if they did get the funding for the generator.
Why is there so much difference in cost? They range anywhere from 29,000 to 87,000.
I think it is the type of generator that's needed, the size of the hull, what it is that they're planning on putting in there. Lyle has all those instructions on that. So most were in the range of 20, 30,000. There was a couple that were a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess it's up to the departments to justify it to Lyle, the
Yes.
costs. I
Yes.
guess that's what I'm getting at. So
Yes.
you just don't get to pick what you want.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, great. So as long
He
as,
would have gone with the one that is needed for a
Yep.
comfort center.
great.
In
Thank
those
you.
locations. So I'm wondering if council is in agreement with that we agree in principle to fund the generators that had been costed and sent in the application for generators through the provincial plan if they are approved.
Can we have a
It-
motion to that effect?
It could be a cost of up to $92,000 if all got them.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 20% that's required to provide generators to the comfort stations,
Up to 92,000.
up to 92,000. Good point.
Thank you. Deputy Warden, do we have a seconder for that, please?
Second, well, it's 92,625, right?
92,625 is, thank you.
So I
Be
just-
precise. We don't-
Yeah.
That's
about
correct.
these motions.
So it's been moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor McLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. And Councillor Organ, I did see your hand, but thank
Just
you.
a question, in case they approve, well, who knows when, but the cost, extra cost, if they go up, the province will do just 80%?
The province is willing to fund the 80% and we will be on the hook for the 20%.
Okay, so could be a little more in case, right?
Depends, yeah.
Okay.
I'd say Lyle would have locked in the quotes for us, but I'm not 100% sure.
And Councillor McNeil,
Yeah, just one question. What's the difference between a conference center and a reception center? And we only have 2 reception centers in.
I believe that the comfort center has showers at it.
Okay. Or
Yeah.
the reception center.
A
has
reception
showers,
center
yeah.
would not.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And reception center would be more probably for heating food and charging.
Charging.
your phones.
Yeah, no, the comfort, because I think Iona is a comfort center, but it doesn't have showers, so it must be the other way around, isn't it?
I'll have to get back to you
Yeah,
on
okay.
what that is.
any other questions or comments? Good, thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so a few other things. So related to our minimum planning standards around the county, we've received an extension, but it's a conditional one. Based on this extension, we have to consult with neighboring municipalities and update the provincial director of planning on our progress. I also was at a meeting today with district planning where we talked about this, another phase of community consultation related to minimum planning standards. Our, be it no fault of our own based on roads collapsing last November. Some of our sessions were moved to virtual, which may not have worked for a lot of people. So we're checking to see how many more we can do a community mail out with different information. So more ways to get community consultation on those. So we encourage everyone to have their say related to that. Something on the Neils Harbor, the potential Neils Harbor transfer site. We're still waiting on cabinet approval on the land. However, the field work on the survey has been completed there and sent to the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables for their review. And this needs to be done before the plan is registered and conveyance can proceed. So a couple of things in finance. So there was a tax update that was sent out earlier. I want to commend our tax department, our revenue department as of January 1st, where they're all doing billings. Just to let everyone know, we get graded every year by the province on our financial condition indicators. And this year we received a green on our taxes receivable that are outstanding. That's the first year. When I arrived, we were in reds. Red is bad, green is good, yellow is you're working on it. We've moved from a red to a yellow to a green. So well done on the revenue department downstairs and all the team. So it's really great. We're doing a great job in that department. So also related to the revenue department, as of January 1st, they're now responsible for tax, utility, tipping fee bills and collections down there. So they're taking on a few more activities down there, as well as doing a great job at collections. They're also working on a better system for automating our tax sale process downstairs with instructions and templates. Our next tax sale is going to be taking place on March 28th. And I'm assuming it will be, the location will be announced, but it's probably going to be at the Inverary again this time. So we'll have more information on that as we're getting closer to it. Tax finance department is working on wrapping up the year end for Victoria County Transit. We've also received, we've received our 2023 municipal profile growth report and assessment role from PVSC. We'll be bringing a little bit more information about that soon, but it's interesting. We've the amount of permits that have come in over the last year. So we are in a growth period. We have released an RFP for our compensation review services that was posted in December. It closed in January, and so we are marking those, and we'll be coming up with that. Want to let anyone know, and for counselors to know, that our grant application is now online. It is due by March 31st. Anyone that is expecting to receive funding this year want to make sure that you have your reports that are required from prior year's funding, last year's funding in before you will be considered for funding for this year. And all the grants that are being applied for are being sent to one central email address. So the email address is grants@victoriacounty.ca. So if you have any organizations who are looking to apply for funding, your application must be in by March 31st and sent to grants@victoriacounty.ca. In our Public Works Department, so there was a draw for depot donations that was completed, and all the groups have been notified. I think down in Neils Harbor, there was 6 organizations that put their applications in, so they're all going to get 2 months. And in Bedeck, I'm not 100% sure. I think there might have been 14, and so we are there. They've made the week's work. They might get 3 weeks work or 3 weeks worth of bottle donations for that. Kelly also met with Appleseed Energy regarding solar panels, so we're looking into options for those and for green credits relating to those. We have a new collection truck that is en route here. It is stalled somewhere, I think in Arizona or somewhere in the States. We could have it, fingers crossed, by the end of April. Our North Shore washroom, Straight Engineering has been down to survey that. The next step is to do a test pit for the septic, and so we're making some progress on that. Related to water, we received our operating approval for the Neils Harbor water plant, so we're good to go there. We also are looking at generators for our water utility systems. We're supposed to be getting we have one at the new facility in Neils Harbor, and one should be here by the end of January, and then we're looking for one north and one south. So one is on the way, the other is a couple of months behind that. Council is going to have a hard look at where we're going to fit all of our services at our sites. We need to decide the future direction based on fire and C&D new regulations. So July 5th, there's new regulations even regarding where we keep our piles, how far apart they have to be for the different types of material. So we'll be talking about that also in the very near future. There was a presentation related to it already, and we need to make some possibly hard decisions related to that. In tourism and recreation department. So in tourism, we've applied for playground funding application. It's been sent in. The playground will be in Dingwall, and we're also looking for 5 accessible chairs that can go either on the trails or around the playground. And as I mentioned earlier in the Victoria Highland Civic Center presentation, Dan is doing a Beacon Bedeck initiative, and he's looking at getting a committee together for that to then form a steering committee and see what is being looked at or initiatives that could help make Bedeck a better location or better place to live. There's also things happening down in Ingonish, and so these are the first of his 2 that he's looking at, and there'll be more information coming out on those. In recreation, Chris is following up about a couple of disc golf courses, possibly a Dingwall area and some potentially around some of the schools that we have. And he is also looking into a multi-sport program follow-up with the different schools. So hopefully we'll be getting some good news related to those. In community development, we're focused on website listing and an upkeep on the STEP files in Ingonish and looking for contractors in Ingonish for that project down there. And on trails, there's a push on for RFPs for trail work. We've received some funding, so we'll be going forward with the next phase. And we're also looking for funding for Crowdis Mountain Snowmobile Club. In senior safety, we had a meeting last week. Also, our coordinator has heard from a few seniors by phone who were struggling over the Christmas period with connectivity issues in several different ways. Cellular coverage, Wi-Fi coverage, roads, and in isolation in general. The RCMP are in touch with our senior safety officer. They're still doing frauds and scam public presentations, and please reach out to Cassandra if you have a group who would like to hear it. She is also working on a weekly bulletin that is being circulated on Tuesdays, and if you'd like to be part of that, which is a seniors newsletter, please reach out to Cassandra if you'd like to receive that. Just an FYI, there has been a fare increase in Victoria County Transit. The UARB has approved an increase from $5 to $7.50. If you are having trouble with that fare increase or with any of the fare, please contact Victoria County Transit because we do have a fare assistance program in place. There is a new mobile foot clinic available north of Smoky. She's still recruiting applicants for the Acting Collectively survey. So if you're over 65 and willing to participate, please reach out to Cassandra. The 2022 to 2025 Nova Scotia Government Accessibility Plan has been released. We've submitted our accessibility plan and we'll be posting it on our website shortly. Couple of other things that are going on. The village is now vacated our building there across the street. So if there's anything village related, it should be directed over there, and they are no longer on our accounting system, and we're cleaning up what we owe to them and we'll be sending them off a check. We've set up a new Victoria County Transit number for any driving issues or anything that if you see something that might concern you related to that, there's a 1-800 number on the back of the bus. It is 1-877-833-0060. We're also setting up meetings with Keegan to keep in touch with him, who is our administrator of our Victoria County Transit. We are sent out an email on IT training for anyone with any county IT equipment. There's many that have not completed it. If you've received an email from, I believe, something before, it is legit. Please complete that training because you're being scored harsher for not doing it than you are for what your score will be coming out of it. We're also setting up an a mayors and wardens CAO island-wide meeting. We're arranging that for March 2nd and 3rd. We're also planning a strategic priorities session for council to go over our, have a look at our strategic priorities setting for February 1st and 2nd. And we will also be talking about go forward of future of administration here and future of this building. So that's what I have. Oh, a couple of other things. We've hired a new communications officer. Her name is Jennifer Dagsvik. She is coming from working as a senior communications analyst or senior communications director with the province of Alberta. And so we're excited to have her get here. She's just got to get her things in order and she should be here by the 1st of March on the go. You met Parker Horton, who is our new executive director, economic development officer, sorry, Parker Horton. And we also have a new public works clerk, Amy Jeffers. I think that's all the new stuff that we have as of right now. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna, any questions for Deputy Warden?
I might have missed it, but what's the location on the North Shore for the washroom? Has that been announced or?
So we're citing the former school.
Okay.
Yeah, Merrill, Councillor McGinnis used to talk about it for a long, long time.
Yep.
So we're citing that site right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for the CAO in regards to the report presented today? Good, thank you for the report. We're going to move on to district concerns to start in district number 1, please.
Thank you, Warden. Actually, not very much. It must have been the holiday season. People weren't calling, but I'm continuing to work on road issues with Steve McDonald. And also, I'm just wondering if there was contact made with Develop Nova Scotia on the broadband situation. Yeah.
I'll be announcing some dates of getting together shortly.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's it, sir. Thank you. District number 7, sorry. Councillor Organ.
Thank you, Warden. Like Paul here, I had a quiet Christmas season here, but I am still working on waiting for a response from Public Works about the no parking bus turning sign for the community of White Point. And also waiting on the response for a street light for the intersection of the community of White Point. I'll be working on those again this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McLeod, district number 2.
Thank you, Warren. Happy New Year's, everybody. I have just one. I would ask if Nova Scotia Health Authority will come for update about the urgent care. And the holidays was closed for almost 3 days. I understood is for the doctor was sick, but I understand that. But I think they have to have a second plan in case one of them they are right. So it's just it's just to update about that. I have some issues there.
Perhaps
make a
just
motion.
you make a motion.
I
Yeah.
make a motion to send an invitation to Nova Scotia Health Authority to come to council to give us update about the urgent care and other issues.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Second by the Deputy Warden. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
And that's it.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Warden.
My phone didn't stop over the break. I guess the main thing is receiving a number of calls from developers in the Ingonish area. Mainly, we have 3, I guess, developments on the go, whether it's Spruces, Franey Estates, and Tall Pine Estates. Been in operation for a couple of years now. But I keep getting the same call from all 3 in that the roads can't be listed, they don't have garbage pickup, can't plow them, and we understand why. But my understanding comes back to when they subdivided the land, they had to dictate at that time if it was going to be something that was going to be serviced or not serviced. And there were certain regulations that had to be passed. All 3 of them tell me that they were never, that information was never passed on to them. I don't know if they just didn't hear it or if it actually wasn't passed on, but now they're coming back and asking for the services. And I'm telling them that, no, you had to make that decision based on when you when you put your subdivision plans in. But with 3 major developments in Ingonish and a lot more to come, I think we're going to keep hearing this more and more. I'm just wondering if staff could take a look at the process. If it is supposed to be done beforehand with Eastern District Planning, how that works. What other options are out there? A simple one, I have one location that could have up to 48 homes in it. And they said there's no way they're going to take put a box at the end of the driveway for 48 homes for garbage pickup. And maybe if we're not plowing, but even if they had garbage pickup. So I'm not saying that's what we want to do, but I'd like for staff to at least have a look into it, see what are the possibilities. And we may have to change policies to do something, but I feel there's a lot going on in the county right now. And we have to do our part to entice these people to invest in the area. And, when you're looking at 48 homes, you're looking at a big tax base. And it'd be nice to give them a little extra, but if we could ask staff just to look at that and maybe come back with a report, what's going on now, what's the issues and where we can go, would it be greatly appreciated. That's it. The roads are already been developed. Yeah. And so they say they were not aware that it had to be done up to certain standards and stuff as far as curbing and drainage and up to highway standards, which I think is always the fallback, is that we can't do it because it hasn't met those standards. That's the question. One of the questions today that I received was, what can we do to qualify for those? So going forward, now that they've already put in the roads, what do we do to go forward? Do we have to bring them up to standard, or I just need more clearer answers, I guess, to bring to these people and further investors that are coming to the area.
Okay.
And that's it for District 6.
Thank you, sir. District number 4, Councilor Long.
I'd also like to wish everyone Happy New Year. Haven't seen anyone since before the new year. And I'd like to pass along my deepest sympathy to the family of Ronnie Bona, who probably a lot of people in Bedeque know who he is as well. He was a bus driver. He was my bus driver for many years, and the bus driver, he worked at the bus garage up here. And I would like to make a motion that we send a letter to his family. I, Councilor Longba, move that we write a letter to the Bona family expressing our sincere sympathy on the loss of their dad, Ronnie Bona.
Second.
Sorry,
moved by Councilor Long, second by Councilor McLeod. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion's carried. Thank you, Barb.
Yeah, and then I had made a request for a street light at the Plaster Park. It's quite some time, like at least 6 months or more, and it has never been replaced. The closest civic address is 44880 Cabot Trail, and the light has been burned out. There just was quite a bad accident there where the salt truck, I believe, went through the guardrail at that exact location, right by where the street light is out. So do I need a motion for that, or?
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Not if you've already.
It's just,
made-
yeah, I've already made the motion. Just needs a follow-up call, I guess, to them. It's just to change a light bulb. Yeah, thank you.
been
And
forwarded.
then the last, cell service, it was mentioned in your report, but I do get calls about because there's a lot of areas in my district that has no cell service. And after Fiona, where people lost power, lost phone, lost everything, and they had no cell service either, it's like, and there's a lot of elderly people. There's one gentleman who has a defibrillator, and if he did have cell service, it gives him a direct line to emergency help in Halifax and Montreal. So, but you said we're going to be having a meeting with broadband. Is that going to be anything to do with cell service, or?
So we also, we've been in discussions with all of Northern Nova Scotia, the CAOs. We got together and I believe we brought it to council about writing a joint letter. So we've written a letter at the end of November talking about cellular service and the issues that there are. And we're going to do a follow-up in the next week if we don't hear anything back. So it's a problem across the island and at least Northern Nova Scotia. So yeah, it's not lost. So
Mhm.
we're working on that, so, or trying to work on it at least.
Thank you. And last but not least, and the last rain, there was a lot of extreme erosion happened in River Bennett was one location where local fishermen and people in the area said that they've never seen that happen in that area before. Where the road was washed out right to the pavement. And I know that's happened in other districts too. I was in Ingonish yesterday. It was scary. Also in Rec Cove at Loretto Doyle's driveway was, there was a culvert was clogged and that the water came over and it took out, like you can't drive up her driveway. Which is just kind of a serious situation because if you know Loretto, she's already had 2 strokes. She's visually impaired. She has she's lost a lot of her independence. She can walk down the driveway even with her very limited sight when her driveway is in good condition. And without this, I don't think the mail's even delivering to her right now because they can't pull in. There's like a rut. I don't know, like a foot wide and a few feet deep that goes almost the whole length of her driveway. And that has not been fixed. That happened like Christmas Eve, I believe. And it's still like that. They came and swept the dirt off the road, but they did not repair. And also the bridge on the Meadow Road, which I've brought up various times, needs to be looked at with a guardrail or something put on for elderly people living on that road, which turns to ice in winter conditions. And the bridge is at the bottom of a hill and it's extremely dangerous. And that's it for District 4.
Thank you, Councillor. District number 5, Councillor Patterson.
Items, Councillor Longwood just reminded me of a guardrail situation on the Kempted Road. The shoulder of the road, I have pictures, it's not a foot straight down to the lake. The guardrail, some of the posts are just hanging in the air. There's nothing around them anymore. I did send a picture to MLA Bain and he was going to look at it and I haven't heard anything back, but I just want to kind of put it on the record here too. The second issue is I got a call about a dog issue, which I'm a little rusty on now. I haven't had one in a while, so I don't know. This is a kind of a different one too, because the person that called me is a caretaker of summer residents. He lives in Coxheath westbound, I'm not exactly sure. And he comes out to Mackenzie Drive on Bulladry to look after this place that the owners are not there all year round. He mows the lawn and makes sure, he was up after the hurricane and so on. And apparently the neighbor has a pit bull who is less than friendly, I guess, the way he described them. So what's the protocol? What's the situation? We only have Terry now, right? We don't have anyone south right now. So he has been, okay. Yeah, so just, sorry.
He gave me a call last week on it. So if there's a resident who has an issue, have them
Yep.
contact the.
Call Terry.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll probably connect him with this person that called me so they can be there at the same time and maybe get if he just goes, the dog is, we've seen this happen so many times. People can train their dogs to be the nicest dog in the world when there's nobody else around sometimes. So that's what I'll probably do then. Thank you. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you, Councillor. Don't have any district concerns this afternoon, but I just want to acknowledge that former Councillor Athol Grant is here with us this afternoon. So welcome back to Council Chambers in a different role. So are there any emotions? No. Do any you wish to share? No, we're good. No, that was strictly motions. So and there's no notice of motions this evening. A correspondence has been forwarded to us.
All been forwarded, correct?
Thank you. Any committee reports that anybody wishes to? Yes, go ahead, Councillor McLeod.
Just update about the bus in North. They just sent me, the bus is in the shop now. A couple couple days. We crossing fingers, nothing happened anymore. And by Thursday, and he's taking appointments now. So
Good.
hopefully Thursday. No, not yet. No, nothing there. Yeah, he didn't send anything yet. Waiting for them. And just repeat the number for the driver. If they see the bus and they want to just have any concerns, it's 1-877-833-0060 is for the Victoria County Transit.
Thank you very much for that, Counselor. And
So I think I was.
any other committee reports? We're good. And just a reminder, February 1st and 2nd, we have that priority session. And just it's a critical meeting for us. And anything you wish to add to that?
Well, I spoke about this at the last meeting that we had. We are expecting counselors to come prepared in what they see as priorities. We're going to take another look at where priorities are, strategic priorities of council. The way that I've been doing a little research on this, and they said, if you bring it up, or how do you propose it to your council? It would be, what was your campaign? What did your campaign have, or your what's your platform? What's your platform when you're coming or coming to council? And if you haven't ran in a while, as I said, or if you haven't been contested in a while, maybe updated a little bit since then. Yeah. So reach out to your residents, see if there's anything that they are thinking of that would be something that would be a priority of theirs. But what I can tell you is I look back at the ones that we had a couple of years ago, and I saw a lot of boxes, or I've been able to check a lot of the boxes off of things that got done. So that's really good. So we're going to try and do the same sort of thing.
We good? So I don't think there's anything else to come to council. We meet again on January 23rd. I know we are streaming. If nobody had any questions offline.
No comments online.
Okay. Our next meeting will be January 23rd at 2 p.m. I did have a call today from our MP's office. I didn't have a chance to relay this to others, but he's asked if he could come to council for a few minutes on the 23rd. So I asked him to contact Steph to make those arrangements. So that might be an addition to council. MP Jaime Batiste office called today and checking on our next date, and he goes back to Ottawa, I think, on the 30th. So he's asked if he could come in and have a chat with us, and we could bring him up to speed, any federal concerns that we have. Is there anything else to come to council this afternoon? I want to thank you for your attention, and certainly, as echoed before, Happy New Year to everybody. And
I move we adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. See you on the 23rd.
Yeah.